What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team.
We're live and we are back. I'm back.
You are back,
down here
sir.
holding the fort. What's up, dude?
You are back, man.
Good God. I haven't
How
gotten
was it,
sick.
bro?
It sucked, dude.
Does everybody know? Matt got COVID.
Yeah, I did. I said it on Twitter, but yeah, dude, it was crazy. I mean, it was just like, it was just really, it felt like the flu. The first 2 days in the thick of it, I was like, I think this is just the flu. And I was like, this, because I've had the flu only once before that. And I was like, it fucking sucks. I was like that sick to where I was like, this fucking blows. I hate this. So I got like 2 days because, it sucks when, I'm in a family. So it's like I had to be isolated. Brittany's pregnant. So now she's got to try to take care of Maya all day by herself. No one else can come in to help us. It was just a fucking can of worms. So I did 2 days in the room by myself. And then Brittany apparently got it. So day 3, I had to just go downstairs and man the fort. So it was like, all right, you rest and relax. So luckily by day 3, I was like, I could be up on my feet. I didn't feel great because I still couldn't get like a full breath. Like that was the one thing about it I was not a fan of like not getting full breaths. That was uncomfortable. But then, day 4, day 5, every day I felt better and better to the point where that was nice. If I had started feeling worse, I'd been like, this is not good. But yeah, so I did like 2 days in bed. Third day, me and Maya just watched movies all day, and then every day after that, I just felt better and better, and just kept hacking up mucus, and it went from like a wicked fever to like a nasty sinus infection.
Was like Maya basically just on her own for like a day?
No, she was with Brittany for 2 days. Then the third day, I came down, and me and her just chilled and watched movies. So we were chilling, we were hanging out the whole time. Also, Troy's asking if I tried Wim Hof breathing, holding my breath. I haven't tried it. I'm curious though, because I can get a full breath now, but I haven't tried to work out yet. I want to fully have like the frog out of my throat and chest before I start like working out and doing stuff. But I'll be curious to see if it actually affected me long term. But that will be a good that'll be a good indicator.
Yeah, I might even consider doing Wim Hof this year. I've heard you've told me about it. A lot of people have told me about it. I just haven't done any breath work yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely, dude. I mean, that was the, because I'm a big silver lining head. So the whole time I was like in the throes of being like sick and sitting in a bed, it was just another one of those things of like, dude, the health stuff's so important, man. It's like that now. It's like and I got it because I also too was I didn't sleep for like, I got like 4 hours of sleep 3 days in a row. And it was like when we did the live podcast, I did a stand-up show the day before, got back at like, I don't know what time I got back, probably like 12:30. I got woken up at, because I got back at 12:30, didn't go to bed till like 2 because I can never fall asleep after stand-up. My body's kind of amped up. So I slept from like 2 to like 6, got woken up by Maya. Then I was like, I'll get a nap today. Brittany ended up going into the hospital. She was having like stomach pains for some sort of like acid reflux stuff. So then I didn't get to take a nap. So I was up all day long, and then I went right into a live podcast, which that's another late night.
Ooh.
And then I woke up Sunday, that was Thursday. Woke up Friday. I was like, I don't feel the best, but I'm taking naps, sleeping Saturday, sleeping. Sunday, I did a hard workout on the Peloton. Literally, as soon as I was done, I went, I'm sick. I know I'm sick. I feel it. And then Sunday night, I was just,
Oh, yeah, dude. The sleep, man. I know I actually just listened to an Andrew Huberman podcast. Probably the best podcast I've ever listened to on sleep. It was an hour long and actually talked about and went into like deep into the science about circadian rhythms and how to optimize it and so on. Like the two quick things I got from it were wake up and try to get, what do they call it? Like low solar sunlight in the
sunrise.
morning on
like sunrise,
your
basically.
retinas. Yeah, he said like anywhere from like 2 to 3 hours of sunrise. He said like roughly speaking, because the sun is at a certain, like it's a low solar angle is what they called it, and there's lots of blues and yellows, and that's kind of what you need. So anyway, he did a great job of describing it, and saying like that's how it sets your hormonal cycle for what is it, your cortisol release and so on. And they said actually do the same thing at sunset. So it's like, yeah, so it's actually pretty interesting. So if anybody is interested, I would definitely listen to that podcast.
So, dude, and it's funny, Wes, I've been actually reading about this a lot. And I was reading about it before I got sick, and I just kept reading about it while I was sitting in a bed.
And not sleeping.
So, yeah, well, I would like just lay there and then fevered dreams and go in and out the first 2 days.
Yeah.
But
you were reading about this when you were sick.
Yeah, when I was sick, when I was playing there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been pretty good about not staying up all night listening to podcasts. I've been way better on that. So Troy mentioned the phone screen. So apparently, Wes, what you're talking about is going out in the morning, getting that soft light. Troy, so from what I read, I don't know if it's true or not. This is what I read. And the guy apparently seems like he does a lot of research. Apparently, the phone screen, the blue light and the brightness of a phone screen imitates noonday sun to the thing I read. So when you wake up right away and you blast yourself with the phone, you're not getting that early light that kind of like sets you up. It's just boom, I'm in midday sun. You're telling your body you're in midday sunlight. Same thing before you go to bed. If you're staring at that thing, it's like I'm looking into blue light filters for my phone. I have one on my desktop now, but I do want to start getting my light environment set up properly.
Yeah, and dude, you can get some pretty badass glasses. They're like have this like yellow tint. Yeah,
I have them. They're here. Yeah, they're somewhere. I gotta get them. I gotta start putting them on. But yeah, I'm gonna start experimenting with that, of like eliminating as much of that like blue light, especially at nighttime before I can. I've been doing good with the phone, but it's like, dude, the whatchamacallit, it's from what I've heard, it's kind of unfavorable to kind of blast yourself with it. And the same thing I listened to was like, you need to get that gentle morning sun. That's what's setting up your circadian rhythm. You don't want to kind of like blast yourself right into it. And also I've read it kind of starts to eat away at, and again, I can't verify any of this, but they're saying there's DHA. It's something in your eyes. And if you're constantly hitting a phone screen, it starts to burn whatever that is in your eyeballs, and it just strains them.
Yeah. So Huberman kind of touched on some of these. He said, from what he said, and I think he's a neuroscientist or something out of Stanford. But he said that the reason for the low solar angle, like we just evolved with that, right? And he said like the things that are important is basically, I think it's called, is light energy photon energy? Is that photon energy?
Photons would be light, yeah.
Yes. So like it's not like if you just let's even say you could replicate like the blues and yellows equivalent to the sunrise in the morning. Apparently, was he saying it's not abundant enough? Like when you wake up, if you think about it in nature, like it's literally all around you. So like apparently you can measure the photon energy, and apparently there's an app that you can use on your phone to measure it. So it's like if you're going to like, I wake up before the sun rises. So if I want to kick off my cortisol cycle and therefore like kind of be predictive of when I would be tired at night, I would have to replicate the abundance of blue and yellow lights around me.
Yeah,
which I'm going to look into.
The same thing happens too if you've gotten into growing like tomatoes in your basement. You have to, when it's time to flower them, you have to actually replicate the different light bands of you have to actually replicate the different light bands of autumn. Like the plants won't flower properly unless they get hit with, I forget which one. I think like there's the blue light of summer or whatever, and then as autumn hits, it's more of that kind of reddish light that tells plants flower. So you have to think, if it's telling plants like when to release their flowering, how many of your biological mechanisms depend on like which kind of light you're getting. And again, all this, the solutions to them are always so easy and free. It's like, I mean, it's just, you just got to go outside and get the sunlight. It's right there.
Yep.
So
yeah, and he gave some perspective. And just to remind everybody, because I just heard this for the first time like 7 months ago, your retinas are literally brain. Like they're like, people think eyeballs are eyeballs. It's like, no, it's your retinas are literally brain. It's the only part of your brain that is external, basically to your skull, right? Whoa. Via the eye socket. Yeah, it's like, and so they start to put some numbers around these things. He said, like, literally the only universal with sleep that he knows of, like for sure, that's like not individualistic or anything like that, right? Like because you know how diets, right? Like some people can work better off of gluten, like no gluten, blah blah blah, whatever. He said literally the only thing that he knows of that is universal to humans is light functioning for sleep cycles. He said even if you're blind, like it doesn't matter, right? It's not about your brain processing images. It is literally your brain via your retinas, which is your brain processing light and your circadian rhythm, which is pretty wild. So he said
that is pretty nuts.
Yeah. So then he said, I think I'll have to listen to it again. I'm going to take notes on it. But I think he said it's 1,000x different. Like if you try to do anything else, apparently, like whether it be supplementation or anything like that, like it is 1,000 times different from what his hypothesis was. And then also there's another 50x difference as well. So like those types of asymmetries to me are fucking amazing, because that's generally what is not what hits the market. What usually hits the market is something that you can put in a box and sell. Like, so it's like, yeah, that might help you. It's the same thing with the fitness world. Sure. Will protein powder help you? Yeah, but that's 5% of the pie. 95% of the pie is these other things over here. But we're not going to talk about these 95% of other things because they're not going to, like, they're just not very marketable, which is very fascinating. And a whole bunch of shit in this world exists like that, where we talk about minutia and not the things that actually move the needle. And sleep, man, it seems like is the same thing.
No, absolutely, dude. And that's that's part of my 2022 thing is like, I will have, because I've always been putting the health stuff on the back burner because I'm always like, I got to get all these things done. Which, I still want to get my stuff done. But this will be the challenge for me in 2022 is like implementing a daily schedule. Like I had a decent schedule, but it would kind of be a little flip-floppy depending on what was going on. It's going to be set in stone, and I'm going to actually stick to it every single day to, unless there's barring any kind of like out of the blue disaster. Every single day I'll stick to it, and it'll be my exercise and my work. I don't want to put any sort of like, well, this is more important than this, as much as I can. So it's like I want to start doing all of my sleep, my exercise, all that other stuff, the eating and diet with the same focus and tenacity as I am like with work type projects.
Fucking
so
right.
It's like that's the 2022. That's my 2022 vision, where it's like they're just systems. I have say 4 or 5 hours a day that I can like sit and write and do other stuff. I will get that done, but none of that's going to be at the expense of the other things that I have to do.
Yep.
Because it's like, I'm not getting sick again like this. Fuck this shit, man. I'm not doing it.
100%, dude. 100%. It reminds me of that podcast that I sent you. What is his name? Rob. I forget whoever that guy's name is from Rob and Big's TV show.
Yeah.
Rob Dyrdek. Yeah. So he talked about, the guy's a beast. Like, dude, he literally said almost like basically what we do on Rhomas. He runs his life by a scorecard. He's like, literally like, he broke it down. Here's every single day I try to hit these numbers. And then also what I'm going to add to the scorecard is, so those are his objective numbers. And then he has subjective numbers, which are, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about my career? How do I feel about my family life? How do I feel about my health? And I was like, wow, that's a good one. Like, how do I feel about it? Because I mark my scorecard. That's just numerical. Did I hit my fitness numbers or did I not? I want to put in there, like, how did I feel about it?
Nice.
Which, to throw it out there, Matt, if you're down for chatting about this topic, I had this huge epiphany last night that I think a lot of guys get a lot of value out of. And it was with my girlfriend, and 3 days ago, do you mind if I just kind of riff on this?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. 3 days ago, she brought up to me, just to be fully candid so you guys can learn from it, like basically the question of like, when are we going to live together? Right. And this, the catalyst for this was like other people putting pressure on her, sort of a thing.
Sure.
Which that drives me crazy. Like, just drives me nuts. Now, her and I have had an agreement. I try to run a relationship just like I run other areas of my life, like commitments, agreements, results, right? Like either recommit, like if you fail, like either recommit or throw away, like figure something else out.
Sure.
So anyway, so that was my initial reaction. Like, hey, like the reason we don't live together is because we talked about this several months ago. We agreed on these things. Respectfully, I have met my end of the commitment. You have not. Yes, like you're working on it, but it's not done. Right. So like, and when somebody approaches me like that, it's like, wait, let's not skip over the fact that you're not done.
Yeah.
But because you want something, like, we can't change the conversation to like, well, give me it now, and like not have the conversation of like, okay, well, are you done? You know, like, and I'm done and you're not done, right? So like, let's actually, again, that should take up 90% of the pie, but 90% of the pie should not be like, well, give it to me, you know, so that sort of thing. Now, in her defense, she was very respectful about the conversation, but what this led to was saying, okay, because then she's like, well, I just don't know, even if I did complete those things, that you would actually do it. I said, okay, like that's interesting. So let me take in that feedback. So then I wrote about it for 4 hours straight. And this was where the epiphany came. It's like, holy shit, I have gotten so detailed in my other areas of life of like, this is what I want. Like down to like the 5th subcategory. But I've never done that in any of my relationships. And that is massively unfair to her. And it's been massively unfair to all the other girls I've dated in the past. Because I've kept my desire, my wants unarticulated past a certain level of resolution. Where like, as I've evolved, it's like, okay, here's what I want. Like literally, dude, like, it's like, I want somebody to hang out with. I need them to be attractive. And like, you know, right, like, I need to have conversations. Like it was like very just high level, which was still, I feel like, more than most men. It's like, you know, we don't really articulate what we want in our relationship. But this time I was like, you know what? Maybe as men, we should get like super fucking clear with ourselves and with her of like, here are the milestones that you want to reach, like, and the major milestones, right? Like you want to live together, you want to get engaged, and you want to get married. And like, I do too, but it was always off in the distance. Like, I know I want to have children, I know I want to be married. Okay, but I never had the connective tissue to get me from here to there. It's like, okay, what do I need? So dude, I literally, like, I went all out. Like I wrote, like literally for 4.5 hours, I think it was, I wrote out fully, like, this is what I need from a partner. Then I weighted them. Here's the percentage of which they're important. And here's the subcategories of what it would take to actually do it. And then I put it in a scorecard.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Like literally, it's like, and then this was, I think maybe what most people would consider to be an awkward conversation, because then I brought it to the table, and I said, hey, like, and here's how I prefaced it. Totally fair for you to ask me this. In fact, it's my fault. Like, I have never articulated this to me. I'm just wondering, it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. Here's where I think you
just went out. Your thing went quiet. Nothing. Yeah. I think the female Illuminati is just like, no way. Not having this. Nothing. I still got nothing. That's big sister. She got him. They're like, no. I think Wes just got shot to another dimension. He's trapped like Interstellar, dude. They're like, no. We cannot have this. Excuse the cough, boys. Yeah, I mean, he's on to something with it, though, because you need to be crystal clear. Otherwise, things can devolve into he said, she said, feeling states. What up, dude?
So I'm sorry about that.
You're all good.
Okay, so now we get to like a scorecard, and it's like, dude, it's literally, and I even drew a diagram, and all this was like for me as well, like very much for me as well. So I drew a pyramid, right, and had all of my baseline needs, and just so everybody knows, and I'm happy to like, I'll actually create a video on this and like share it. So like the baseline needs, as much as I didn't want to admit it, are like attractiveness. I have to be physically attracted to the girl. Like that's like a prerequisite. And like I need the girl to pay attention to that and like have a maintenance program for that to make sure that happens. So anyway, it's like attractiveness, growth mindset, family oriented, mind mate, like it's like all of these things, right? I think there was probably like 11 things in total. Be able to trust her and so on. And then I broke each one of those down. Like here are the component parts that make up that thing. So for attractiveness, I know I'm going to sound like a jerk, but again, and I feel like this is an area where men need to discuss. It's like, I might sound like a jerk when I'm saying this, but that doesn't change the fact that I need them.
Yeah.
Or at least it's what
sure.
I think that it's what I think my needs are right now. I'm sure it'll change over time, but it's not going to change much. You know, so for instance, like attractiveness, like I love teeth. Your teeth need to be straight and they need to be white, right? Like relatively, right? Like can't have, like need to focus on hygiene, need to have a great body, like those types of things. People can throw stones at me all day long. That is what I need. If I try to not do that, which I tried in the past, like dating someone, right? Like who didn't have those things, hit basically every other box, didn't work, like would not work. Anyway, so then I say like, hey, here's what I need. Here's where I think you are on a percentage scale, right? So like broke it all down, heat mapped it and everything. Like, here's where I think you were and I put like, here was your lowest point for me, right? Like, so some of them were like 10%. Like at one point, your lowest point in this area was 10%. Here's where it is today, 50%. That's not sufficient. I need everything to be at 80% minimum, right? Like, or I shouldn't even say everything, and now we're in those discussions. But dude, I can tell you, man, it was so liberating for me. It's the first time I ever felt comfortable saying, okay, yeah, like this is what I need to live with a woman. Like these things need to be there, you know? And like we had a conversation about emotional stability. That's one of my needs. Like I need emotional stability because the world has enough fucking chaos for you or anybody else or me to bring in additional unnecessary chaos. And here's how I define emotional stability. And here's the 5 metrics. And like literally it's one-liners each and you're scored on them, period. And I said, please give me the same thing in return. And also, you can just imagine how difficult this conversation is. I said, hey, like, no big deal if you don't want to meet them. Like, this is where we need to be adults about this. I need an answer by tomorrow. And if an answer, like, can you, oh, and by the way, I said, here are the deficiencies. Here's where you're doing phenomenally well for my needs. Here are the deficiencies. And then in the next column is my best guess at to how to solve those deficiencies for me. So I didn't want to leave her in ambiguity. It's like, hey, like, you know, I need, for instance, I need conversations. I need them. I don't want to fucking talk about how the weather is, how my day is, if it's just going to be like, who said what? I don't give a fuck who said what. I want to talk about why and how to move forward, like those types of things. The conversations we have on here, like to me, that's important. It moves the needle for me and my family. And I want my spouse to have the same type of thing. But I said, hey, like, I want to make this solvable. You don't need to be like a Harvard graduate to like have a conversation with me. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying like, let's commit to reading a chapter every couple of days together and talking about it. Like something like that, something tangible. So anyway, so I said, you know, totally understand if you don't want to solve these. I know it's a shitload of work, but these are what I need. I would like an answer by tomorrow, whether or not you would like to consider helping to solve these. If not, no biggie. And then she said, well, how about Tuesday? I said, okay, fine. Right. So like, anyway, I just want to throw that out to you guys because it sounds fucking harsh, man. But I think as a man, we owe that to our women because otherwise, especially when it comes to commitments, I don't know about you guys, but I'm generally like, wait a second. So you want me to like make all the money? You want me to get married? Like you want me to provide you housing? Like do all, like that's the narrative in my head. I'm not saying that's the accurate thing, but that's the narrative in my head. It's like, I'm going to fucking commit all of these things and then you could cheat on me and divorce me and take half of it. Like that's the subconscious thing that's going on. So I'm forcing myself to be more articulated with all of my desires. And then dude, I can tell you from that 4.5 hours, it reduced fears that I've had for the last 2 decades, quite literally.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, dude, it's one of those things that does, like when you're listening to it, you're just going, oh God, like it sounds so like, you know, it just sounds bad. Like, because bad meaning like the reaction you're going to get. So it sounds perfectly reasonable. I understand what you're saying. It's from my experience, it's tough because like how do you, first of all, I just want to clarify. It's very good to know exactly what you want and need. With women, in my experience, it's tough because it's hard to keep them all along the grids and the numbers and stuff. Because it's like sometimes they just want to they are just going to want to talk about, you know, gossip and bullshit and, you know, and to be honest, it's like, you know, sometimes hearing gossip is kind of nice. But it's like, hey, did what? So yeah, I mean, I wonder how is she feeling about that stuff? And it's like, but to your defense, it's like the to say like, all right, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go do all this stuff. I have to function on all these levels, and you can just sit at home and just spaz yourself out and attack me. Like there is no room for that, and you're 100% correct. Like that's something we have to stop. Just there's no need to be like that, no need to do that. And it's like I feel bad, because that typically comes from a place where a woman feels kind of lost and whatever. But it's like, yeah, man, you can't have that. You can't have that in your life, and like you don't need to have that in your life, So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I'm just curious to see how the day by day maintenance of that holds up.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, this is just a hypothesis of mine. I can tell you, the exercise alone. Let's even say I did that and didn't give it to her. Holy shit, the exercise alone was fucking wild. Like, dude, I'm serious. Like, seriously, it feels to me like I was walking with a splinter in my foot, and I finally took it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just something I could get around it, but like, it's been fucking 2 decades. Like literally, like 2 decades worth of dating. And I can see Kaizen and Troy and Ray can like relate. I'm sure all guys can relate. So like, I can tell you for sure, this is how it's going to go down. For me, I am fully committed to my wants and in every area of my life now, telling people exactly what I want and not being a jerk about it. Just saying, hey, just so you know, this is what I want. If our interests don't align, totally cool. But I need to protect our relationship from resentment in the future. Cause like I'm resentful. Like when she brought that up and it's like, hey, I agreed to this and you agreed to this. You didn't do your part. Right. Like, so like no more of that, man.
Yeah.
No more.
That's
right. Like
that's a big one, man, of just being like, we set something up. It's very important to cut off as much as possible of that. Like, but I want it. Like that's not going to help anything. And if I give into that, it's a slippery slope, dude. Yep. So it's like, I think I agree overall. I think it's overwhelmingly important not to let the let's call it the more chaotic aspects of feminine nature to like, they are, and what I'm saying, basically what I'm saying is they're always, in my experience, they're going to be present in the household. Like you can't get it's going to be there, but it's like, it is up to you, like you're saying, of like, how much does that dictate the flow of things and the direction of things? And that's where like it's very difficult, because you're standing up to a literal force of nature, and it's just very convincing, and at every little trick in the book you have to be like, no, we're not doing that. Take all the blah 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 blah, and then as things settle, it's like, oh, this is nice. Like, dude, and you can't talk about this stuff anymore. It's not nice. It's a bad thing to say, but it's like, dude, it can really, you can spin a whole house into doom by just sitting by passively and being like, well, I don't want to upset her, and it's like, how do you do that? How do you do that in a way that can be kind of like, you get them pumped on it too, because it's like, because the last thing you want is someone just going okay and going along and then building the inverse resentment of the resentment. I got rid of the resentment, now you don't want the other party being like, well, now I'm resentful. Fuck.
Yeah, dude, I can tell you, and this is why you and I have such good conversations. Like, I'm taking the hard route for sure. Like black and white route. Like, no, I'm going to tell you exactly what I want, and I will judge you, right? Like not judge you. I will judge my feelings off of like the environment that we create together, and like whether or not you're meeting my needs. And if they are not met, and I want you to do the same to me. Like, we're going to get fucking specific here. Like, no more fucking ambiguity. Of course, there's going to be some ambiguity. Well, like, we're going to minimize that.
Yes.
And for the first time, like, I'm 1,000% comfortable saying it. Because before, like, I grew up with my mom, single mom, and she's very emotional. So I was very scared, and still I kind of am scared of hurting girls' feelings. Yeah. Like, it is excruciating for me. But it's like, the way I've convinced myself over the past couple of days, like, oh, yeah, dickhead. But the problem is, you're then like, because you're not super clear on your intentions and what you want, and that are aligning with her milestones, you're just kicking the can down the road for a devastating event in the future. And I've devastated girls in the past, and dude, like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's all on me. It's because I have not articulated exactly what I want, and I have not kept them accountable, of course, because They didn't. I never told them what I wanted. I have not kept them accountable to those desires. You know, and by the way, like my wants are reasonable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also know that Matt, to your point, 99% of the female population, or just any human, is not going to be exactly open to this. But like, I'm fucking looking for a unicorn.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we're talking about spending the rest of your life with one human, right? Like, just by definition, that's a unicorn. So you might as well fucking put the effort into finding that fucking unicorn.
Yeah, man. Or at least have that structure, dude. Have that structure where it's like, dude, that's the, I would say the most, you know, from my experience, the most important thing in having a functional relationship. And it's a cliche at this point to even say, but it is literally communicating your feelings in real time. Honestly, you can, you know, you can bite your tongue 10%. There's some things you have to go, you know, in my experience, if I went full on truther 24/7, there's some things in my experience I have to kind of sit back on, but like I have a personal critical mass, and I used to let it go to like 10,000 and then I would just explode. Now mine gets up to like 100 and I can say, all right, like enough of this. Like I get nagged, you know, I get nagged big time and I have to like stop because it's a fine line. It's like, am I genuinely being a mess? You know, it's like, maybe it is annoying if I leave something out. So I have to like filter things through like, yeah, that's fair. Let me try to do better at putting stuff away. You know, all that other stuff. But then there's another side of it where it's like, no, this is actually genuinely inconsequential, and I'm getting nitpicked, and I'm like, no. So it's like, how do you, you know, and that's just my, you know, that's like something I'm dealing with. But it's like the same thing. How do you communicate a frustration in real time, like authentically, in a way where you're not blinded by your own kind of like, you know, let's call it ego, the apparatus within you that's convincing you you're always right and the way you're doing everything is, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how do you kind of stay true to yourself while also not being completely blinded by the way you kind of view things and open and fair at the same time? It's really tough. It's a very tough thing to do. But being honest is like, you can't go wrong with that. Just be as honest as you can be.
Yeah.
So that's
the
good.
thing for me, the distinction that I feel in there, like what comes up for me is, how do I say this? Like, I actually take on the perspective of not communicating in real time for a lot of things. And and this is just like my personal way of being, because it works really well in business as well for me. It's like, there's so many factors that play a role in my immediate feelings, right? Like, literally, did I get enough sleep? You know, did I eat properly? Did I go to the gym? Like those things are probably like make up 90% of the pie. So if I get agitated with something and I articulate that to my girlfriend in real time, there's a very good chance of having a false reading on that, to where now I'm setting her in reaction mode to that false positive, if that's the correct way of saying that. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So what I suggested to her last night is, unless it's a level 10 thing, we're gonna go, of course, right? Like if there's something burning and it's like, oh, like I think you cheated on me, like we're gonna talk about that shit now, right? You know, but if it's those things that, in my opinion, are the things that make the biggest difference in a relationship, like, you know, you're not cleaning your area properly, or those types of things, like those things I feel like can usually be weighted on and trended out at least like every week, if that makes sense. Like, hey, and this is what I told my girlfriend last night, like, hey, every Friday, like, this is what I would like. We meet and we have a good, like, come to Jesus meeting, and we break bread over it or something. Like, we go out to dinner and we have like, hey, like red, yellow, green. What are we doing that's awesome that you want more of? What do you want me to reduce? And what do you want me to stop? And I can't promise that I'm going to take action on those immediately, but if it comes up enough times, I'll know that it's like a real thing. And then over time, and like mixed with our scorecard, like I will try my best to gravitate towards being the partner that you need. Right. So like, I don't think that for me, I can say for sure that if somebody communicates, especially in an intimate relationship, if she communicates to me in real time, like what she's feeling, if it's agitation, every single time she feels it, that to me, like that's very overwhelming to me, because now I feel like I've got this new set of problems I have to solve.
Yep.
I do think, obviously, Matt, like to just say for you, it might work for you because you probably don't get agitated every 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it comes up then it can turn into fucking nagging. And nagging, in my opinion, like if you were to adopt a similar methodology, should be on your scorecard. Don't fucking nag me. here's the definition of nagging, right? And like subcategories, like if you see something that's off, that is spilt milk, right? Like, let's leave it for this time to talk about it. Or like, let's agree, I'm not going to clean up, right? Like, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, this is what I want. This is what you want. Where can we meet in the middle, or where can we just disagree? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, the just any structure at all definitely provides a sort of safeguard from just like the day's emotion, what's ever on the emotional menu for the day dictating what's going on. Because you can't have that. Like in my experience, no. You can't have it. And it's like, I would say, I think people bring different things to relationships, men and women. And I think I would say a safe rule of thumb, it's like for dudes, I think, as you especially get into like having a household and all that stuff, you almost need to kind of be a bulwark, whatever the word is. Just kind of like, I don't even know if that's the right word, but like just as steady as possible. And the way you get, in my experience, the way you achieve that steadiness is through some form of structure. Even like you were saying, Wes, let's do a week and actually stick to it. That's the hardest thing too. But
dude, that second part.
Oh my God. But a weekly thing, we're going to go out and make it fun. We're out to dinner. This is fun. Here's the caveat. We're going to actually, all this stuff, let's discuss it. Let's open up and see, where can we kind of both improve in certain areas and actually both listen to the other, it's like, it sucks hearing things about yourself that are critical. It sucks. Your body like genuinely rejects them. It's like, fuck. So it's like, yeah, man, it's so imperative, man. So important.
Yeah. Well, and that's why on my list of needs is like, you absolutely must be on a journey of personal development, and especially around emotional development and psychological development. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I literally cannot have a partner who's not committed to that. And here's what that means. It means every single week, you and I are both consuming full chapters, at least 3 chapters. I said 2 to 3 chapters. 2 to 3 chapters every single week of something for personal development, specifically in the emotional and psychological area. And then also every single day watching or listening to something like quick 5-10 minutes on somehow to enhance our relationship. This is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Right. Like, now the cool thing is for anybody who's in a relationship or like about to be in a relationship or whatever, it's like, I would highly recommend trying this exercise. Like, let's just say if like she comes back to me and says, go pound sand, like, okay, fine, I'll accept that. I will literally bring this document. And Matt, I think you know enough about me and probably the guys on that. Like, I for sure will bring this document to the third date of, I swear to God, right? And it's like, I need you to read this document. And if you don't, that's telling in itself, like, just, we're not having a 4th date. Right. And I need you to go through this. And over the next few weeks, it's like, if we're going to continue this conversation, like if you disagree with any of this, we must talk about it. Because this is what it takes me to get to this level, and then I'm going to graph it all out. Like, here's what I need to move in together. Here's what I need for engagement. Here's what I need for marriage.
Well, dude, the thing I like, and that's it. The earlier I feel like you set some form of these down, the better. But it's like you really, I think there's different like terms for this. But it's like, you view yourself as like, I like the thing from the stuff I would read from like Hinduism as like you need to be present within like your body. It's like you think of it as like a kingdom, and then the citadel is you in the center of it. Like, you're dictating kind of what's going on. Like, you're present for what's happening. You're in touch with your thoughts. That those words are coming back out. So like, you're not just sitting there and kind of like, vacating yourself and letting whatever happen around you, even when
Right.
So it's like, that really is a way of like, in the initial stages of dating, like, you need to be the citadel has to be manned by you, because if you enter these relationships and kind of like you're out of touch with what you want, what you need, and you're just giving into things, your citadel will be stormed and your life will be taken over in ways that you will most likely become resentful, shitty, and like it's like that's like a genuine essential part of yourself to like show and share with a person. Like, what do you actually want? What do you actually need? And it's like, I'm wickedly guilty of this myself, of just being like, whatever, and just kind of going along with it, just due to kind of lower needs of like, like, oh, I have a hot, she's hot, whatever. This is just what it is.
Yeah, dude.
You hear the standard fucking, bar wisdom of like, that's just how it is, man. And it's like, maybe if you just kind of turn your brain off. And again, I swear, and I would challenge you on this too, Wes, of like, there are aspects, I believe, that can be accepted and let go of in terms of some of the chaotic element of like, it's like there are periods where that will rear its head, and I've been trying to get better at like, while being true to like, this is what I need, communicating that, being like, I'm going to allow you to do your thing. Like, this seems to be something integral to you for some reason that I can't wrap my head around, but it's like, I'm not going to fully give into it. I'm still sticking to my principles, but like, I'll shut down to where it's like, I'll see that and just go like, fuck this and figure it out. And it's like, I've been learning that's not a viable strategy either.
Yeah.
But again, my situation's enhanced with children, so it's like, it's different.
Yeah.
But,
oh no, totally. Oh, so, and also, Matt, just so you know, like, this place stems from a place where I'm reading this book called Mating in Captivity right now. Phenomenal book. Talks about like basically the increasing, upkeeping, and maintenancing of physical attraction in a relationship. This is an area of my relationship that I have no problems with. I'm highly physically attracted to my girlfriend. But like, I just want to consume enough information so like it can prevent, right? Preventative cures are easier, it seems. So it seems to me that there's a lot of men that eventually, because of unarticulated needs, when a baby is had in the household, like, all of a sudden the attention goes there almost in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and this book explains like certain women like receive a certain amount of physical satisfaction from the baby. Like, there's a lot of similarities between like eroticism and like physicalities with children, right? Like, so they're checking. I'm not making a gross argument of like they're receiving sexual satisfaction, right? Like,
yeah.
But there's a lot of physiological things that are similar.
It hits those very early, like when you're a teenager, romantic strings. Like, you're like, when you're like a teenager and you have a girlfriend, you're fully enveloped in their entire being. And then that kind of slowly fades away as you get older. But it's like, there's something to that, dude. It's hard to articulate because it sounds very strange. But like, when you have a kid, there's like a fawning and attraction. It's not a sexual thing, but you love this thing, and you are getting like, you're getting so many little hugs and stuff that like it whatever the like your oxytocin needs, whatever, they do feel met. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So where it's coming from is like, I feel like as men we haven't been trained in this area to say like, this is what I need. That it sounds like a fucking like such a wussy thing to say, right? Like, this is what I need, babe, but it's like, no, this is what I need. And Matt, I can totally respect your point of like, well, you might have to increase your skill at accepting more chaos and so on. Totally agree with that. Like, and that's what I told her last night. Like, I will try my best to, let's say, like, have coping mechanisms for some of these needs. Yeah. But that's not going to change my needs. Like, I am committed to telling you exactly what I want. And I'm going to show you where I'm at with those on a very frequent basis. Period. Maybe I'll regret this a year from now. I don't know. But as of right now, I am fully committed to that. And like, it's a make or break deal. Like for both respects, like, of each party, make or break fucking deal. I will not be one of those men who lives in resentment in the number one area of importance of my life. There is no fucking way I'm going to do that. Zero chance.
Dude, that's the and you need to have that. Like, I have I'm big on like just the overall mood of the house, and that's one of my main non-negotiables. Is like, I've been in houses where it's like, it's kind of quiet, people aren't really talking, everyone kind of hates, there's like beefs and shit going on. Not doing it. I'm not living like that. It's not happening. And it's like, you do have to have things that you genuinely put your foot down, because if you I've done this before. I had like a lot of what I wanted figured out. It's like, dude, relationships can be a fucking nightmare, because it's like, you just don't know. And you do know on some level, you don't know how to articulate it. It's not clear. You just kind of touch and go with like, I feel this day one day, I'm spazzing out. Now I seem even more wrong and at a loss because I lost my temper. It's like, dude, if it's as clear as you can get, you just articulate all that stuff up front. This is what I need to be genuinely 1,000% in a relationship. You put it on a thing, and then it's like, yes or no. It's because the other thing is just like, you just meet somebody and you'll figure it out. And it's like,
dude,
this is figuring it out. That's what it looks like. Yeah. So it's like, no, I commend you. I think it's important, man. I think I definitely am going to draw from that as well, of just like continuing to articulate the things that I need, and like X, Y, and Z. And I've seen things about specifically what you were talking about of like when a woman has a child, you know, and I think the guy actually was Elliot Hulse, I believe. I used to watch a lot of his videos, and he did the things. He had 4 kids, and he said like, he's like, they'll be back, but you lose them for a little bit. And you just gotta let them do their thing, and you have to be secure in yourself, not to fall to the prey of like, well, you know, I should go get some pussy on the side. This is just what guys need on the side. And it's like, no, it's like you have that's a thing you have to kind of, you know, learn how to channel that energy into other things that aren't, you know, entirely destructive, or communicate that and say, hey, like, I'm all red, babe. I'm all fucking red. But there's ways to go about it that aren't kind of like secretive and kind of negative and nasty, where it's like, I view that as a part of strength to be, that's something people can develop in terms of like learning how to channel that energy specifically in ways, you know, like it's just an urge and it can be handled, but it takes a pretty serious effort.
Yeah. Well, dude, no, I think you're spot on, because here was the alternative that I was doing. And almost at like a subconscious level, spending a little extra time at work, right? Because I don't want to go home, but like, you know, like I don't want to. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's cancerous, man.
Yes.
So I'd rather not let that cancer spread than just say this is what I fucking want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 1,000%, dude. Absolutely 1,000%. And it's like, you know, it's good. It's good. I've been on the receiving end of a lot of stuff. So again, I grew up in this household where it's just chaos. You leave shit everywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Figure it out. Find it later. And obviously that doesn't work for Brittany. So I've been on the receiving end of like a lot of like, hey, you know, you got to do this. I can't live like that. And I'll say at first I resisted it, and after a while I go like, this is nice. I actually like kind of like I clean the kitchen every night. That's not the thing I typically did by myself, but it's like, you know, with time, sometimes the critiques can kind of enhance your life in ways where you're like, nice. So.
Yeah, dude, I can tell you one of the conversations that like gets me a little frustrated is when people say, well, like people don't change. It's like, okay, that's complete bullshit, right? Yeah. Complete bullshit. I can tell you the largest case study that's ever done on this every single year is the U.S. fucking military, right? Like, I have massive respect for the military, massive. But it does seem to me that a certain percentage of, let's say the friends that I have that went to the military, 90% of them were complete messes, right? Like they went to the military because they didn't have other options, right? Like the world, like they were so arrogant to think that the world was going to fit and form their needs, and they didn't, including like no colleges would accept them, like, you know, that type of thing. And then they went to the military and they come out like fucking gentlemen warriors that make their beds and tuck in their shirts. So if you tell me that people don't change, that is false. Now, like there's shades of gray, obviously, right? Like, so I can totally see how somebody say, well, you're trying to change a person. I'm not trying to change a person. I'm just saying, hey, here's the opportunities that you have if you want to be in my life, and I want you to afford me those same opportunities. Then we can make the rational decision as adults, and not only verbally make the decision, but through action make the decision. And then we'll see. If some of those behaviors, if you choose to evolve them and you actually follow through, great. If not, great. Because then we both know it's not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's the biggest thing, and it's sort of subtle, I guess, maybe not really, but just that recognizing that feeling of like this shit's wrong, and not just being like, oh, whatever, it's just how it is. It's like, no, that's like being like, I don't want to go home right now. Like, well, that's a serious red flag.
Yeah.
That's like,
or what
but
Al is saying, man cave vacation. I'm just going to go into my man cave. Is that like, you know, it starts like that. Yep,
exactly, dude. It really does. It's like, well, I just hang, you know, I just go down my basement, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I genuinely think it's, you know, again, like you're going to have kids and all that other stuff. It's like, well, dude, these stressors and dynamics only multiply. So it's like, you know, everything has to be kind of, you know, nailed in the butt. And there's a way to do it that's kind of like patient and honest. You can be both at the same time. You know, everyone, like, this stuff loves to be, people love to classify this as like you were saying, Wes, like you're just trying to alter someone entirely. It's like, I mean, that's one view. People could say that, but it's also like, no, this is genuinely what I need, without me having to feel like I'm like just faking my life and just going along with stuff. So, man,
exactly.
I think even if people could adopt like 10% of what you put across, it's hugely, hugely helpful hugely helpful in the reduction of like
Oh, yeah.
anger, resentment, all that stuff. So, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm curious to hear the results, and I'd be curious to hear what kind of, is there like a return volley? Does she have any say in the system and blah 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 blah?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah,
Like, and it was kind of a weird dynamic, right? Because, right, like, this is where, like, my robot brain's, like, I'm pumped. I'm like, this is great. Like, here's what I got, but, like, the tone and the facial expressions are not mirroring or, like, matching, like, the devastating information to her that's flowing out of my mouth. It's like, you're really bad at this. Like, this is phenomenal that we're talking about this. And it's like, fuck, like, I'm sticking daggers in her at the same time. But, like, I want her to do that to me. Keep me fucking accountable. Like, that's one of the mainstays. And I'm also going to write out my values. Like, here are the values, non-negotiable, that I will have in my household. Like, we keep each other fucking accountable. If you don't want to be kept accountable, leave.
Yeah.
Like, you are not on my team. That's not going to fucking happen in my household. We make agreements, we commit to them, and we either stick to them, and if we don't stick to them, we fucking apologize and recommit or not. Like, that will be the philosophy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Unless she can push back and say, well, I disagree. How about this philosophy? Like, I'm totally open to negotiating. But having no philosophy is not a fucking option. No longer in my life in this area is it it's not a fucking option, period.
That makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then to your point, Matt, sorry, go ahead.
No, there's always the, and I don't think this isn't like a cheap trick or tactic, but there's always like, hey, like, I recognize that some of this stuff can come across kind of like binary and maybe you don't like that. So how about you help me kind of like spruce these conditions up and kind of organify the system that I'm putting back to you? How could you make this your own? But again, like you were saying, we will be guided. I mean, dude, imagine if it's not hard to imagine. Imagine if America didn't follow the Constitution. Like, you need founding core principles, dude. Just otherwise, people are like, well, what do we do now? And it's like, I don't have any kind of code to live by. I'll just resort to my basic instinctive emotionality, that little thing inside me that tells me I'm right and it's everybody else's fault. Okay, cool. Let's see how that works. And it's like, yeah, good fucking luck.
Yep. Yeah, and Matt, to your point earlier, like, reading a book is not a personality trait. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not trying to alter someone's DNA. It's like, read a fucking book.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want to, fine. But, like, I'm not saying go from introverted to extroverted. Right? Like, I'm saying read some fucking words.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so these are not, like, severely personality changing alterations. I'm just saying put in the work. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure every single thing I put in there was, like, just a matter of putting your fucking overalls and your boots on. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's decision stuff,
No, that makes sense, man. Because otherwise you can do all this other stuff. You can set your goals, do all this stuff. But if you're coming home to a place that you're kind of like, this place sucks, it's like, it's the most deflating and demotivating thing in the absolute world. I mean, you can just be like, fuck, this doesn't matter. But yeah, man, dude, I agree. I think it's a good thing to it's a good area. It's a very loaded area and it's uncomfortable to kind of like approach, especially if you're already in a relationship and the status quo is just kind of like, oh, like happy wife, happy life, all that bullshit. But I'm always curious to hear about ways to kind of continually go about this in ways that work, and not only just work, but like both people can get pumped up on to do, and it's very possible.
Yes.
It's very possible, but it's like, yeah, man. So I commend you. I think it's a good thing. I think it is a good thing. It's just I'll be curious to hear the, what's up with it, because it's so easy to spin this into kind of like, this is unfair. This and blah blah. It's just like, no, this is genuinely what I want. So.
Yeah, and dude, I got the other thing that I would say. Just the last thing is, I feel like if anybody's going to try this, I would actually recommend. And my hypothesis, right? It's not like I've been doing this obviously for 20 years. Is to actually document it, right? Like, and I know that's going to push some people over, like, what the fuck? Like, that's so clinical. It's like, no, like, my argument back to that, at least the reason I'm documenting it, is because, kind of like you said, Matt, like, in the absence of some sort of structure, and documentation is like, here are the exact words that I need. Mm-hmm. In the absence of that, when I get upset, I'll get real slippery. Right? Like, I'll slightly change my needs a little bit, right? Because it's so easy to point the finger at somebody else in real time. It's like, no, here's my document. It's going to change probably, but like not significantly. So then every so often we can revisit and say, no, these are the exact needs that I said 3 years ago. And you're doing phenomenal at it, or you're not in these areas. But I also told my girlfriend, I don't want to be constantly chasing a moving target, right? And that's what happens, I feel like, in relationships, in unarticulated, and now I'm taking the stance of undocumented, solidified once, like long-term once, right? Like, I do not want to be playing a game where I'm taking target practice at this thing and I'm paying attention to every little microcosm, like how's my finger, how's my body posture, like all this stuff. And then all of a sudden the fucking target moves. I'm not playing that game. I realize it's going to happen, but if it's moving by 80% each fucking week, I'm out.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, so I'll be curious to see how that goes, man, because it's good. It is, again, it's just absolutely crucial to be able to go. And it took me forever, dude. When I first went to a therapist, I would just I would just complain about Brittany the entire time. I'd be like, and then you're like, well, did you tell her any of this? I'd be like, no. Like, what are you talking about? She's on spins. And they're like, well, you have to do that. And I'm like, and it's like, dude, it was just the dumbest thing to be like, well, have you ever communicated this? And I'm like, no.
I get it, dude. Exactly.
But it's like, no. But yeah, dude. So yeah, let's weekly or 22 goal. I think on Friday we can get into what's going on for the year. I'm excited about that. And again, this is just relationship goal stuff, dude. Of like, this is the aspect of like getting things right in those domains. So yeah, so I think Friday we can go in depth into the what we all have going on. I'm excited. This is the first year where what I need to get done is like a simple list of like several things, and that's it. I'm like pretty
fucking
pumped on
love
that.
it, dude.
So love it. So for this week, all I'm doing is I got to get my podcast done, obviously, every week, and just to keep plugging away on the book that I'm writing, while also easing back into exercise and dieting and all that stuff, like my diet plan and everything. So
yeah, and I'm 100% on board with all that stuff. The goal, like having like the goal review on Friday, and then also, guys, please like share your wins. I know we shared some of them in the Discord, but like if anybody wants to bring up some major wins on Friday, I would love to hear them.
Hell yeah.
So for me, just going full out on the goals this week. Like I think I was telling Matt before this podcast, last week I spent easily 14, 15 hours purely on writing down goals and going through different avatars and abstractions and like everything. So this week I will be like solidifying them. They're all documented, but a lot of them are like they're not in the exact precise order that I want. So that will be this week. So I would urge you guys, if you're a little behind on your goal setting, do that fucking now. Like, do it now. Don't let it get to next week, the week after, because all of a sudden then it's fucking March,
Yeah.
And you just missed on several months. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it, brother.
Hell yeah, man. All right. Well, dude, let's do it. We'll resume. What's up?
Can I make a public commitment right now?
Absolutely.
I will make, for the next 3 months, we'll make a piece of content for Rhomas every business day. So 5 days a week. That's my commitment. Like, keep me fucking accountable to that. And I need to think of a punishment if I don't. So let me get back to you on the punishment. Actually, right now, just to throw until I think of a better punishment, if I don't do that, then I will go back home and rent a paintball gun, and Matt will shoot me.
Will I?
Hold on.
I don't want to shoot you with the gun.
No, please. But I need you to do it. So, oh man, 15 times from 20 feet on my back.
Okay. So you want to have one thing done a day?
Bare back.
Oh, good God. How many things do you want to have done? You want to do 5 things a week, 5 pieces of content a week done?
So let's think. By April 1st, however many business days are between then or to now and then, I want that many pieces of content put out by me for Rhomas.
Starting when?
Starting now.
All right, fair enough.
So like if by April 1st, I don't know how many business days are between there. So let's just say there's 50 business days between now and then. what did I say? 15 paintball shots to the back from 20 feet away, barebacked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So
Fair
now
enough.
I might miss some days, but like as long as there's that number, sum total by April 1st, I want to be very specific about this because I don't know if any of you guys have not been hit by fucking paintballs, but it is not a joke.
It sucks.
Right?
It
is not a fucking joke. Yeah.
The piece of content is finished video or writing article.
So either writing, video post, or audio.
Nice. Okay, dude. Fair enough. Yeah, and I'll just join you on that. I'll have if I don't have the first draft of my book done by then, you could open fire on me as well. So.
Oh yeah, because this is the first day that you've not had COVID. So the accountability thing. Have you made any progress today on your book?
Yes, I have. So I'm right.
Okay,
I'm halfway done another chapter. So yes. So same thing. If I don't have the rough draft done, I mean, let me see, April. Yeah, absolutely. Rough draft. If I don't have a fully rough draft done, like properly done, then absolutely I'll be shot as well.
Okay, sweet. All right, cool.
I'm gonna shoot myself with a real gun if I don't finish by April. All right. Dude, yeah, always a pleasure. Let's do Friday. We'll check in. We'll get the year will be officially kicked off for real.
Hell yeah, fucking right.
All right,
dude.
bro. Later on.
All right, guys. Later.